represent all students at Jesus College?
Well, I really care about like Jesus, and like it's like, I mean, it is my home, and I really love it here. And I guess obviously I can't put myself fully in the shoes of other people, but I can try and empathise with them, right? And I struggled in exam term last year because I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. And I sort of had a really terrible exam term, and I think representing students is especially important when they're going through a tough time, and I think I try and use my experience of that to try and really think of that when I was thinking about students. And I think because I've had that time, then I can try and improve college for students who are going through a good time, but also if they're going through a bad time, really try and offer support and empathy with them there as well.
And my second question is, to what extent do you think the JCSU should be political, and in particular the role of JCSU president?
I mean, it's not something that I actually, I've thought about this, and I don't know really how much of a view I have on it, right? I think the JCSU president should be political in issues that really affect students. So, I think if there's going to be, if there's a proposed change to fees, for example, with the general election that's going on, and the student body clearly has a view on that, then I guess it would make sense for the JCSU president to express that view. But if there's if there are issues which the student body doesn't really have a view on, or it's not really strictly related to student politics, then I would keep that quite sort of to myself. I am a political person, and I am involved in party politics, but I would try to keep that separate, except if there was if students had communicated to me a view, and there was a view across college about this particular issue, then I think it would be kind of wrong of me not to reflect that in my dealings either with college or with the wider university.
Thank you. So now I'll open it up to the floor. If anyone has any questions, if you just raise your hand and I will go on. Yeah, Astrid.
Something Social's been really good at this year is looking out for the welfare of the committee. And I was wondering if you have had any plans to take on that sort of welfare role yourself.
Yeah, I guess especially if you're sort of very new to something, it would be really difficult to sort of jump straight into it. I guess I'm kind of doing that, but I think I'm quite lucky in the respect that if I get elected, it will be 2 weeks before everyone else, so I'll have had the chance to kind of learn quite a lot about the JCSU to do the handover with Sorsha, so I think I'll be able to sort of hit the ground running with providing help to people who've just got elected. But just going through my policies today, and working out when I would implement them, or when I try to implement them. I was thinking maybe I would meet with people who get elected when they're elected and try and work out when we're going to put forward these sorts of things. But I'm quite a sort of understanding person, and if people were finding working on the JCSU was taking up too much time, or I think we can kind of share the burden with each other. I think the JCSU last year or this year seems like it's been a really nice place to work in. So I want to continue that going forward.
Yeah.
I feel like a kind of recurring problem, if you like, for the JCSU is participation in events and getting people to come.
Yeah.
And I know that does fall to specific officers when they're putting on an event, but as a president, would you have any, I know I'm putting you on the spot, but ideas, or is that something that's on your radar?
No, it's definitely something that's on my radar. Free pizza helps, but it's not just it's not just about that. So I think communication is important, especially sort of making people aware in advance about things, because if you tell me a week in advance that something's happening, that often isn't even enough. So it might make sense to prepare a term card or something for JCSU events that are going on that and then release that at the start of the year. But if it was super easy to solve, then we would have just solved it. So it's something that I would like to talk to the incoming JCSU about if I was elected, and I guess the wider student body as well.
Do you have any specific proposals in mind for KFC reform?
Yeah, it's pretty it's difficult. right? Like especially, I think one of the most serious issues is people who live outside of college in houses and who cook for themselves and like who find that a much cheaper way to do things and rarely if ever use CAF. You know, I was watching the Hustings video from last year, and Jess had a policy about the KFC, and I know that there's ongoing KFC like discussions about the KFC and reforming it. But you know, not every college uses the KFC system. Most of them do, but not every single college does. So I think I would probably try and meet with people at colleges which don't use the KFC to see how they use the system and try and advocate for that at Jesus. But you know, some colleges don't use the KFC, but they just add that amount onto the rent of the rooms. So it's kind of a not really the good way of doing things, I don't think. But I do think there's an issue there, especially with people in houses. And like that, I worked it out a couple of weeks ago. If you only go to CAF like a few times a week, you know, you're paying like many pounds extra on top of your meal. And basically, unless you go to CAF really regularly, it is quite unfair. So something needs to be done about it, and it is something that I actually really care about and want to make better. So.
Yeah, Joe.
So I think it's really good that you've got the living wage, so it was the first policy in the manifesto. But in the past, as I understand it, discussions about living wage with the JCSU have sort of had the tension of the fact that colleges said, well, okay, living wage could be an idea, but actually that would be like cost rise of students. And I'm wondering like how you navigate sort of the role of representative of undergraduates and sort of solidarity with college students.
Yeah. Well, I kind of think like if college can't afford to pay like staff the living wage, then like why like what are we like here for if we can't afford to pay people properly? Like it seems really unfair that they'd say, okay, like we're gonna employ this amount of people to I don't know, like make the college look really beautiful or clean or whatever, and then not pay them properly. But I get what you're saying about it. You know, it would just increase costs on students. But you know, the cost extra, like even if that were true, the cost extra that it costs for students to pay the living wage every year to increase the wage is the cost comes from inflation, right? And I guess like inflation increases rent every year anyway, so rent kind of goes up every year like that anyway. But also, I think, like, I looked at the reports today of the annual report that came out, and like college spends less than its income, and you know, I know that it has to put money into its endowment and stuff, but like, I think paying staff living wage should be one of the primary commitments, the core commitments of the college. And you know, it's also a selling point, right? Like to students or to even like fellows to say, we pay our staff the living wage. You know, I don't know if any of you looked at like the student room pros and cons before applying, but like Queen's has pays its staff the living wage accredited, and if Jesus was also accredited, it would be a real selling point for the college as well.
Any other questions at all? Yeah.
You mentioned paying the Cambridge bursary in week one on your manifesto.
Yeah.
As far as I'm aware, it's a university-wide
So
Cambridge bursary. How would that work?
So it's not. So I don't say the Cambridge bursary. I just say college bursaries, right? But I do think actually the Cambridge bursary not being paid in week one or not always being paid in week one is an issue, and I think like I would try and work, in the higher up levels to solve that, because if you are a student who is on a bursary, like you might not, your student finance might not come in until week two. You need that money in week one, especially if you're making commitments and stuff for the term. So, but then there are sorts of college bursaries as well, which aren't always
Which are
paid.
taken off the college bill.
Yeah. Okay. Right. But I do think there is a problem there with the Cambridge bursary as well, and that's why it's in the manifesto. It's not the sort of thing that is like you click your fingers with, but it's the sort of thing that working with other JCR presidents you could sort of try and solve.
Yes. Do you have a stance on JCSU members being members of drinking societies?
I think especially for liberation positions, it's not really like. I think I don't know if there should be a sort of ban on it, but I think really for me, I don't know if I could vote for someone who was a member of a drinking society to be in a liberation position, but I think it should be up to them themselves to sort of think about it if they want to be in that position. But I wouldn't want to put a ban on it, because I think, you know, you could have someone who's in a drinking society who does an amazing job, but I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm not in one, but I just don't see. There's a bit of a tension there. But then, to be honest, like there are other sort of organisations which I would also say there was tension with, like I don't know, certain political groups or something. So I guess it's you know, but I think on drinking societies, like a lot of people sort of hear about them. I know I heard about them first, like from like you know, like other people, word of mouth and that sort of thing. And I think the JCSU could perhaps do more in like first term to sort of not even be like positive or negative about them, but just explain that it's something that exists in college. Because I think if you hear it from the JCSU first, it kind of demystifies it a bit and makes it seem less sort of like cool, I guess. So yeah, that's what my thoughts are.
Any more questions? Okay, I have one more. Is your hand? I have one more. How will you manage your time as JCSU president between committee, different meetings, degree, your own welfare? How do you intend to go about that?
Yeah. You know, I'm a real like, I really love the like Apple calendar thing, and I like looking at
Same.
So you know, but apart from that sort of basic thing, I think like everyone at Cambridge has this problem. I mean, even if you don't do that many extracurricular stuff, you still have that problem. And it is something that I'm sort of is on my radar. But I think like often work can kind of expand to fill the time, and if you know you can't procrastinate, you don't. And I feel like, you know, especially for something like an important role like JCSU president, I think I would be very like, I obviously really care about it, and I think that would like help me drive to work really hard on it. And you know, I really want to do this, so I think that would hopefully take time.
Do you have any more questions? I think we will draw it to an end then. Thank you very much for coming.